September 18, 1944. 58 brand-new Panther tanks, the deadliest armor on the Western Front, roll toward Patton's exposed flank. By all logic, this should be a massacre. The Germans have superior guns, thicker armor, and the element of total surprise. So why did only 8 Panthers survive the week? General Hasso von Manteuffel stands in his command post near the German border, studying maps with cold precision. He's not a fanatic, he's a pragmatist, a master of armored warfare who's fought from Russia to North Africa. And right now, he believes he's holding a winning hand. Under his command, the 113th Panzer Brigade. Not the battered remnants limping out of Normandy. This is Hitler's new fire brigade. Fresh formations, factory-new machines, 58 Panthers equipped with 75mm guns that can kill a Sherman from 2,000 meters away. The math is brutal. American Shermans, reliable workhorses, but their frontal armor is tissue paper to a Panther. Their 75mm guns are practically useless at long range. Manteuffel's plan is elegant. Punch directly into Patton's overextended Third Army. Patton's fuel lines stretch across 400 kilometers. His tanks are scattered across 180 kilometers of front. Cut off the spearheads, destroy them in detail, force the Americans to halt their entire advance. By every conventional calculation, this should work. Superior tanks, concentrated numbers, absolute surprise. The Americans have no idea a fresh Panzer Brigade is assembling in the fog-shrouded forests of Lorraine. But Manteuffel is making calculations based on 1940 logic in a 1944 reality. He's about to lead his brigade into a trap constructed from 3 things the German military cannot comprehend. 7:30 a.m., September 19th. The lead elements of the 113th begin their approach march. Then, nature intervenes. Thick, heavy fog rolls across the Lorraine fields like a living thing. Visibility drops to 50 yards, then 30. Tank commanders peer through periscopes, seeing nothing. Drivers can barely make out the tank ahead of them. Manteuffel's greatest advantage, that 2,000-meter kill shot, instantly evaporates. You can't hit what you can't see. The fire brigade is blind. 15 kilometers away, Colonel Bruce Clark receives the first reports. Heavy engine noise, large formations, moving west. He doesn't have heavy tanks. What he has is Lieutenant Colonel Abrams commanding the 37th Tank Battalion. Abrams doesn't panic. He realizes instantly that the fog is an equalizer, a catastrophic one for the Germans. If they can't see at 2,000 yards, their superior guns are useless. This is going to be a knife fight in a phone booth. The German column advances through the mist, tank engines roaring, tracks clanking. They expect to crush the picket line and break into the rear. Then, the lead Panther erupts in flames. The turret explodes outward, then the second Panther, then the third. German radio discipline collapses. Voices crackle in confusion. Enemy to the left. No, enemy right. Where is the enemy? Commanders pop their hatches to see through the mist, only to be cut down by unseen machine gun fire. The German commanders assume they've hit a massive wall of American heavy tanks, but the reality is far more disturbing. They haven't hit a wall. They've walked into a swarm.
But before I tell you what was tearing these Panthers apart, if you're enjoying this deep dive into forgotten World War II history, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss these incredible, untold stories of warfare. Now, here's where it gets insane. Enter the M18 Hellcat tank destroyer. To a German tanker, the Hellcat looks like a joke. It has almost no armor. A heavy machine gun can penetrate its thin turret. It has an open top, leaving crews exposed to shrapnel. By Wehrmacht standards, it's a suicide machine. But the Hellcat has one statistic Manteuffel completely ignored: power-to-weight ratio. 17 tons, 350 horsepower from a radial aircraft engine, the same type powering American fighter planes. Road speed, 55 miles per hour, faster than any tank in the world. No Panther, no Tiger, no Soviet T-34 can match that speed. The Hellcat can relocate from one position to another faster than a Panther can rotate its turret. In the fog of Arracourt, this speed becomes the ultimate weapon. The Germans advance in rigid phalanx, Roman legionaries in formation. The Hellcats fight like a pack of wolves, individual hunters, autonomous, coordinated not by proximity, but by radio. Here's how it unfolds, repeated dozens of times that morning. A Hellcat platoon from the 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion hears Panthers approaching through the fog. The commander plots positions on his map, orders his driver to race to a flank position hidden behind a hedgerow or barn. The engine screams at full throttle. They deploy. They wait. Engines idling. Gunner with hand on the firing mechanism. Loader with armor-piercing rounds staged for rapid reload. They wait until the German behemoths roll past, exposing their vulnerable sides. 3 high-velocity 76mm rounds slam into the side of a Panther. Penetration. Fire. The Panther's turret slews left, trying to engage the Hellcat, but the Hellcat is already moving. The driver reverses at full throttle, backing up 300 yards at near maximum speed. They relocate, down a different road, across different terrain, toward the next ambush position. Before the surviving German tanks can complete their turret rotation, the Hellcats have vanished. It's a clash of philosophies. The Germans built tanks as armored fortresses, heavy, protected, designed to take a hit and survive. The Americans built vehicles to never be there when the hit arrived, light, mobile, designed to shoot and relocate. By noon, the fog begins to lift. Manteuffel, receiving reports of stalled attacks and mounting losses, orders his commanders to push harder. The Americans cannot be everywhere. Push through their screen. But as the sun burns off the mist, the Germans realize the second part of the American trap has just closed.
The sky above Arracourt tears open. It's not airplanes, not yet. It's something far more precise than anything the German mind can fathom. American artillery, the 66th Armored Field Artillery Battalion, executing a tactic that is standard doctrine for the 4th Armored Division, but a weapon of shocking lethality. Time on target. In traditional warfare, artillery batteries fire sequentially. Battery A fires, the enemy hears the first shell approaching, they react, they dive into foxholes. Battery B fires 10 seconds later, but by then, the enemy is already underground. The surprise is lost. The American time-on-target system is revolutionary, pure mathematics. A centralized fire direction center calculates the flight time of artillery shells from 12 different batteries positioned miles apart at different elevations. Then they calculate backward from a specific impact time, what firing time each battery requires. Battery A, positioned 12 kilometers away, fires at 1200 hours. Battery B, 4 kilometers away, fires at 1205. Battery C, 8 kilometers away, fires at 1210. Every gun fires at a different moment, but every single shell arrives at the target coordinates at the exact same instant. Piper Cub spotter planes, tiny observation aircraft that look like overgrown insects, circle overhead above the 113th Brigade positions. Pilots can see the German tank columns below. They call down coordinates. They become the eyes of the American artillery machine. For the 113th Panzer Brigade, there is no warning, no ranging shots. 1 second, the Panzer Grenadiers are advancing across a muddy field. The next second, the air above them simply disintegrates. Dozens of air-burst shells detonate simultaneously at 30 feet altitude. The effect is apocalyptic. Shrapnel falls like razor-sharp rain. Blast waves kill instantly. The Panzer Grenadiers, elite infantry riding on the tanks, are decimated. Dozens die in the initial salvo. Dozens more are wounded. The shrapnel doesn't scratch the Panther's armor, but it strips the Panthers of something far more valuable, their eyes and ears. External radios destroyed, antennas mangled, telephone lines severed.
Command and control disintegrates instantly. The German tanks are stripped of their defensive perimeter. They're buttoned up, hatches closed, commanders blind, isolated in explosions. A blind tank without infantry support is a dead tank. Without infantry to protect them from bazooka teams, the Panthers are helpless. Without commanders looking out, they can't see the Hellcats flanking them. Without radio contact, they have no situational awareness. Manteuffel's elite brigade isn't engaged in a battle. It's being processed by a machine.
By the afternoon of September 19th, the battlefield is littered with burning Panthers. But the most shocking statistic isn't the tanks destroyed by fire, it's the tanks that simply stopped. The 111th Panzer Brigade, supposed to support the attack, arrives late. Why? Because they ran out of fuel on the way to the battle. Germany designed the most sophisticated tank in history, precision optics, superior sloped armor, high-velocity cannon, but they couldn't produce the liquid fuel to move 58 of these machines 20 kilometers. Meanwhile, General Patton is screaming about fuel shortages. The Red Ball Express supply line is stretched thin. American tank units are rationing fuel. But here's the fundamental difference. When Americans lack fuel, tanks turn off their engines and wait for trucks. When trucks arrive, tanks refuel and resume operations within hours. When Germans lack fuel, the tank is abandoned. Crews dynamite the gun breech, they disable the engine, they set demolition charges. The tank is left to rust in the mud. As the battle rages over 3 days, the disparity becomes almost comical. American recovery crews towed damaged Shermans back to mobile repair depots during the battle. Tank mechanics working in outdoor workshops in combat zones weld patches over shell holes. They replace damaged engines. They straighten bent gun barrels. Tanks knocked out in the morning refuel, recrew, and return to the line by evening. The Germans have no recovery vehicles. If a Panther throws a track, abandoned. If the transmission fails, abandoned. If the engine catches fire, the crew bails and the tank burns. There is no replacement pipeline, no spare engines from factories. The 113th Panzer Brigade enters the battle with 58 Panthers. Within 24 hours, they've lost 30. Within 48 hours, 50. By the end of the week, only 8 remain operational. The U.S. 4th Armored Division, Combat Command A, loses 5 Sherman tanks and 3 tank destroyers in the first crucial day. Total losses for the week, approximately 25 tanks and tank destroyers. But critically, American losses are rapidly replaced. Within 3 days, new Shermans arrive from the rear. Within a week, Combat Command A's operational strength is higher than when the battle started. Patton isn't defeating Manteuffel with tactics alone. He's defeating him with a supply chain extending across the Atlantic, back through English ports, back through American factories in Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, back to the ore mines of Pennsylvania, back to the oil refineries of Texas. Manteuffel built a perfect hammer, but the forge that created hammers was 3,000 miles away, rationed by Hitler's government. On September 22nd, Manteuffel issues orders for the 113th Panzer Brigade to disengage and retreat. The great counterattack has failed. The final accounting is brutal. 58 brand-new Panther tanks entered the battle. By the end of the week, only 8 still operational. The unit has effectively ceased to exist as a fighting force. American losses? 25 tanks and tank destroyers, replaced within days. The kill ratio wasn't a battle, it was an execution. Arracourt proved that a superior weapon is rendered absolutely useless if it's blind, unsupported by infantry, unable to move due to fuel shortage, and outmaneuvered by swarms of lighter vehicles operating with superior coordination and logistics. The Germans built warrior knights in shining armor. The Americans built a factory that moved at 50 miles per hour, a factory with radios, a factory with supply trucks, a factory with spare engines and ammunition and fuel. And in September 1944, in the fog of Lorraine, the factory won.
General von Manteuffel survived the war. He wrote memoirs about Lorraine. He admitted that American time-on-target artillery and the mobility of tank destroyers made traditional panzer tactics obsolete. The Battle of Arracourt is often forgotten. It sits in the shadow of D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge, but it's perhaps the most important battle for understanding why Germany lost. Not because it was massive, but because it reveals the truth beneath the surface. It wasn't just courage. Both sides had courage. It was the triumph of a system, a logistical system, a communication system, an industrial system, where speed, mobility, replaceable vehicles, and spare parts mattered more than individual warrior excellence. So here's my question for you. Would you rather command a Panther with no gas or a Hellcat with no armor? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story gave you chills, smash that like button and share this with someone who loves history. Subscribe for more forgotten stories of World War II, where we explore the real lessons of industrial warfare. Wars won in factories, not on battlefields. See you in the next one.